A single trumpet pierces the mist, not from war, not from warning, but from alliance. Imagine a world where early humans didn't just fear the mighty mammoth, but rode beside it. What would survival look like if flesh met fur not in combat, but in trust? And what ancient price must be paid to earn the loyalty of a giant? The sun had not yet broken the horizon, but the earth already trembled. Hoofbeats, no, not hoofbeats. Heavier, slower, more ancient. Through the tall grasses of the savanna, a procession emerged, two Australopithecus afarensis males, on foot wielding sharpened stone-tipped sticks, walking beside a young mammoth draped in bark-strapped satchels filled with roots and river stones. The beast moved with calm obedience, trunk swaying, ears twitching. Behind them, a female elder clutched a child to her chest, while riding atop another larger mammoth, her bare feet gripping its coarse hair like reins of bone and breath. This was not a hunt. It was a migration. Their home, a dry ravine beside the Red River, had grown barren. Fish had vanished. Roots had soured. And something worse had scented them from the north smoke. Another band. Taller, faster, louder. They took without warning. So the elders voted with gestures, move or vanish. But with wounded and infants among them, survival on foot meant certain death. That's when the matriarch turned to the young tusked calf she had raised from a pitfall trap 2 rains ago. She fed it, sang to it, bound its wounds with moss and chewed bark. It had followed her like shadow ever since. She pressed her brow to its forehead, and the tribe saw what she saw, not a beast, but a bridge. Now, with 4 mammoths walking in rhythm beside them, the tribe crossed foreign lands once forbidden. They used mammoth warmth to shield infants at night. They stored water in gut-leather pouches slung across mammoth flanks. And they watched predators, lions, hyenas, wolves, circle then slink away tails low. But peace walks on splinters. On the 3rd night, as fireless sleep settled and the wind shifted south, a deep rumble broke the silence. Not mammoth, not thunder. A Homo habilis scout spotted it, first dark shapes, long shadows. Another tribe. And they were not walking, they were hunting. The matriarch did not panic. She gestured. One mammoth turned, let out a warning cry that shook the canopy. But the rival tribe saw the same thing this one had seen months ago: mammoths, tools, leverage, and they wanted them. Rocks flew. One mammoth reared. A young male fell stone, cracking his shoulder. Chaos bloomed like fire. And now survival was no longer a question of food or water. It was a war over power. A stone struck the elder mammoth's flank, splitting skin and spilling thick, dark blood. The creature bellowed not from pain alone, but from something deeper. Betrayal by the very world it had once roamed without fear. The matriarch, still clinging to its back, signaled, frantically pounding her open palm against its side. It turned trembling and began to charge, not wildly, but with purpose. Like a living avalanche, it swept through the underbrush toward the attackers. The enemy tribe scattered, but not fast enough. One was trampled, his scream cut short. The others flung more stones, but their aim faltered. A second mammoth, younger and still unscarred, barreled through the tall grass to flank them, trunk raised like a war cry. The Australopithecus followed behind, hurling their own sharpened spears. This was no longer just defense. This was communion in battle beast and biped fighting as one. But one figure remained hidden in the trees. A rival hunter, lean and silent with fire in his eyes, and a sharpened bone spear gripped tight. He watched not the chaos, but the matriarch. She had dismounted in the fray, dragging the injured young male behind a fallen log. She pressed a poultice of mashed herbs and bark to his shoulder. Her fingers shook not from fear, but from urgency. The boy was her blood. Behind her, the rival hunter stepped forward, raising the spear. The mammoth saw before she did. It surged between them, placing its massive form like a living wall. The rival hesitated. He could kill the woman, but not before being gored, crushed, ended. A moment hung in the air. And then he lowered his weapon. Not in mercy, but in awe. He backed away slowly, eyes never leaving the mammoth, then vanished into the trees like a shadow dissolving. When silence returned, it felt earned. The tribe regrouped under a canopy of shaken leaves and crimson dawn. The elder mammoth's wound was cleaned with river salt. The child's shoulder was wrapped in woven reeds. The matriarch stood beneath her beast forehead, pressed to its leg in gratitude. But something had changed. They had not just survived a battle, they had redefined the balance of the world around them. Their enemies had tasted a force beyond understanding humans who do not ride alone, but beside titans. Later that day, they crossed into new land, lush, untamed, and silent. Birds scattered from their path. The river curved like a serpent of life through the plains. And there among the trees, they built a resting camp. Not permanent, never permanent, but safe for now. Children played beneath the mammoth's bellies, drawing symbols in the mud. One sketched a circle with 4 dots, 2 legs, 2 tusks. Another carved a crude image of a human and a mammoth standing side by side. No one spoke. Words had never been needed. But the myth had begun. As twilight bled across the savanna, the air turned golden and thick with the scent of damp earth and mammoth musk. A light rain fell, not enough to drive them to shelter, but just enough to soften the soil beneath their feet. The tribe sat in a loose circle beneath the sheltering canopy of an old fig tree, their backs pressed against each other, their bellies slowly filling with roasted tubers and dried lizard meat. The fire crackled low, not roaring, but steady, guarded by carefully arranged stones and the soft, rhythmic hum of a mammoth's resting breath. The elder mammoth, now stitched with sinew and sealed with clay, stood with quiet dignity at the edge of the firelight. Its great eye glistened in the fading sun. The child who had nearly died now lay curled in a bed of moss, his head resting against the mammoth's foot, as if protected by a living wall of memory and strength. The matriarch moved among her people, checking wounds, sharing bits of boiled root, adjusting leaf wraps for those shivering. She paused beside the youngest mother, who held her newborn tightly to her chest and gently smeared sap across the infant's brow, a ritual of life, of protection, of hope. Then, without command or ceremony, the oldest of the tribe stood and approached the fire. His skin was thick like bark hair, silvered by countless seasons, eyes clouded but not blind. He held in his palm a curved stone, an ancient thing, worn smooth by time. With slow, deliberate motion, he began to carve symbols into the earth with it. Circles, lines, spirals. The others watched. The mammoths watched. This was not language. This was memory. The tale of the ambush, the charge, the shield, the loyalty. The tribe would remember not just in minds, but in movement, in how they approached the land, in how they respected the giants who had chosen not to trample them, but to carry them. The domestication was not dominance. It was devotion. Somewhere deep in the night, a distant roar echoed, perhaps a lion, or perhaps thunder from mountains far beyond the plains. No one flinched. The mammoths did not move. The fire crackled on. By morning, the tribe would leave again, heading toward fertile ground the scouts had glimpsed by the horizon. But for this moment, this singular night, there was something that had never existed before. Peace born not from absence of danger, but from the forging of trust between flesh and tusk. As the first light of dawn crept through the trees, the child who had drawn in the mud stirred, blinked at the sky, and pressed his palm into the earth beside his earlier drawing. He lifted it, looked at the print, then placed it on the mammoth's massive leg. 2 marks. 1 bond. And thus began the myth whispered for generations to come. The tale of the beast who did not trample, but walked beside man so that both might survive.